Many people believe Satanists to be evildoers, individuals that indulge in animal and human sacrifices, and the reason that evil is on this earth. The truth is, these people fear what their religion taught them, and this outlook on life has caused them to become narrow-minded, and not research into the truths and facts that outline our history as a species. Anyone who has non-biasedly read the Satanic Bible should be able to say with conviction that these accusations of ritual abuse are not advocated anywhere within the pages of the book.
Well, it occurred to me for many, many years that there was a large gray area between psychiatry and religion that was untapped, and no religion had ever been based on man's carnal needs or his fleshly pursuits. All religions are based on abstinence rather than indulgence, and all religions, therefore, have to be based on fear. Well, we don't feel that fear is necessary to base a religion on. The fact that religions for thousands of years have been telling people what they should do and what they shouldn't do according to the basic whims of a person who might be running the show is very understandable. We feel guilt is a necessary thing, not necessary that it's practiced at all times, but we're stuck with it. We have it in our collective unconscious. We have a certain amount of feeling of apprehension for things we've done because we're taught from childhood not to do certain things. Any attempt to sort of scrape the psyche clean is only going to make us much more, and certainly much more fraught with frustrations and tensions. So what we've done is just reverse the procedure. Instead of trying to free ourselves, we've taken all these hang-ups, we've turned them into useful situations. If you're going to be a sinner, be the best sinner on the block. If you're going to do something that's naughty, do it, and realize that you're doing something naughty and enjoy it.
Although a majority of the 7 deadly sins and 10 commandments make sense, some of the laws stated by the church are ludicrous and are only set in place to control people so that they can dominate how our lives are lived. Presidents and prime ministers are sworn in on the Bible, knowing that the practices their position in power entitles them to carry out goes directly against the book they are sworn in on. An example of this is how the Bible states that the love for money is a great sin and lending of money is strongly prohibited. But if you look at who is backing these presidents and prime ministers, it is more than often bankers and corporate powerheads. For quite some time now, money has ruled our world, and the times of trade are long but gone. The very object that dominates societies all over our planet, money, has symbolic secrets hidden all over it. These symbols, when deciphered, show us that there is much more going on than meets the eye. For starters, a majority of the people displayed on the bills were presidents or prime ministers that spoke out against the control that money had over the population. Another key fact to point out is that several of these prime ministers and presidents displayed on the bills were leaders that were assassinated, most thought to have been killed for speaking out against the monetary system. In 1935, the Great Seal was added to the American dollar. This Federal Reserve note contains an array of symbolic messages and meanings. On the left side of the bill, we have the Pyramid of Power, which contains the all-seeing eye, the Eye of Horus, or the Light of Lucifer, the great architect at the top of the pyramid. The words on the bill say Annui Coeptis, which translates to announcing the conception, and below it states Novus Ordo Seclorum, or Secular New Order, essentially translating to announcing the conception of the New World Order. The pyramid itself contains the date 1776, which is the date America gained independence from the British and the year the Illuminati was formed. There are 13 layers of bricks, symbolizing the original 13 colonies, and 72 bricks in total, which represents powers of the name of God in the Kabbalah. The right side of the bill, which contains the Great Seal, also uses the number 13, which is a representation also of the 13 Illuminatic bloodlines. 13 arrows, 13 leaves, 13 berries, 13 letters in the term one of many, and 13 stars. Complex geometrical patterns are also used on the background on most bills. On Canadian currency, the Seal of England is on all bills, indicating Canada's enslavement to the royalties of Britain. Even though the Queen gave Canada their independence, it is obvious that the country is still owned in one way or another. Spirituality and the supernatural have always played a large role in how societies work, and the influence this has had on rulers of lands is no exception. It is fair to say that most people believe in some sort of spiritual or supernatural presence which has an influence on our lives. Governments are certainly no exception. Before the Nazi Party was constructed, when Hitler was in his early days, he served in World War I. During this time, he stated that after several battles, many times he would be the only one left alive out of his comrades. He believed that there was some sort of presence amongst him that was keeping him alive so he could carry out important tasks later on in his life. It is a known fact that the more elite Nazis were involved with the occult and based critical decisions on occult readings and practices. In 1941, Hitler's Vice-Fuhrer, Rudolf Hess, flew a plane by himself in an attempt to reach British powers to negotiate alliance between the two nations. The date he chose, as pointed out by his occult advisors, was a unique day, as planets would be aligned, which was an omen of good energies. He was then apprehended and became a prisoner of war. Hitler was infuriated, saying Hess had become mad and was not welcome back to Germany. Hitler did not instruct him to negotiate with anyone. In more recent times, occult and religious-based ideologies and rituals are still being practiced by many countries' leaders. As stated earlier in the documentary, Alex Jones penetrated the Bohemian Grove Club and exposed world leaders performing the cremation of care ceremony, where they were reenacting mock human sacrifices before a hollow stone statue of Moloch, the god of human sacrifice. When royal blood or political powers practice these rituals, you must obviously ask yourself, what exactly do these people believe in, and what is their overall agenda? These questions are quickly surfacing around the world, and they are getting away with it, and are allowed by law to do so. However, if you take a look into a modern world, on the other side of the table, and hear the stories about what happens when the average person decides to practice a unique belief system, often they are set up and destroyed by the same people and agencies that govern us. An example of this is the Branch Davidians, who formed their own private society and were practicing their own beliefs from the Bible.
Holding a child in your hands that lost its life in a fire where the temperatures reached in excess of 3,000 degrees is something that pierced my heart.
April 19th, turned the TV on and there I saw the tanks ramming into the front of the building and the fire shooting out, and it was horrifying.
Mommy, he says, they told us about that fire. He says they said my daddy and my brothers and my sisters are gone.
Things will be set straight, and people will know the truth of things.
Today, two subcommittees undertake historic joint hearings on executive branch conduct that led up to the events at Waco, Texas in 1993. In human terms, these hearings are about a tragic loss of life. 4 brave young law enforcement officers lost their lives on February 28, 1993. A planned raid went badly and off course. These 4 agents, dedicated and proud, deserve our full respect. They did not choose to die, but like many others in law enforcement community, they chose to serve. But this is a complex event. On April 19, 1993, after a 51-day siege, other decisions led to the use of so-called CS gas, and a fire broke out. The fire rapidly consumed the entire Davidian compound, killing all 22 innocent children and more than 60 adults. The truth behind that part of the tragedy is also important, and is the obligation of those who have responsibility for oversight to pursue the truth relentlessly.
As time passes, and we grow older, we must reflect upon what we have accomplished with our lives, and what difference we have made to this world. Many people do not wish to associate themselves with the government and wish to be truly free, to raise their families without the influence of a corrupt world. Our generation and the next will be capable of forming a resistance to what is happening around us, However, it is up to you and everyone else around you. Welcome to the formation of resistance.